Resident Evil Requiem in all of its gruesome, goopy, and gory glory is on the Nintendo Switch 2, and you're probably wondering if this version is worth your time. After 15 hours of playing almost exclusively on the Nintendo Switch 2, I'd say yes, but with a caveat. Let's start with the good. Resident Evil Requiem on the Switch 2 is an incredibly competent port that looks and runs great on the handheld. Despite the console's technical limitations, Requiem retains its moody atmosphere and unsettling visuals. This is partly due to Requiem's limited use of ray tracing and dynamic lighting. Although it's not nearly as involved as other versions, Capcom has made good use of the Switch 2's power here. Frame rates are uncapped and appear to fluctuate from time to time, usually when going from one room to another. But in my experience, it never dropped to an inexcusable level, at least in a heated moment. If the Switch 2 is your only way to play Resident Evil Requiem, or you prefer the portability, you won't be missing out on much. But what exactly are you missing out on then? Image quality and textures take the biggest hit here. A side-by-side glance at the PS5 version shows just how obvious it is. The hair, backgrounds, and finer details look muddier, although pretty much every part of the image has been reined in some way compared to the PS5 version. That said, Requiem still looks impressive. Grace's sections are intended to be played in first person, and despite the handheld's drawbacks, the environments still look and feel cluttered and gross. A lot of this is thanks to Capcom's art direction, but there were only a few moments where the visual quality took me out of the experience. Perhaps the biggest examples are the notes and objects you can examine. In classic Resident Evil fashion, you can rotate objects you collected to observe them from different angles. With Resident Evil 7 and 8, you could really see all the small details on these objects. That extra coat of texture is missing here, and a lot of the objects you pick up look low resolution and lack those finer details. The frame rate, meanwhile, aims for 60 frames a second, and it generally feels pretty smooth, but fluctuations are noticeable, especially while docked. I can only go by my eye, so I can't break things down frame by frame, but quick turns and larger explorable areas appear to be the cause of this, as well as moving from different rooms. I won't show any footage due to spoilers, but there's an area in Act 2 where the frame rate appears to struggle a bit more notably when you move between indoor and outdoor environments. These moments don't last long though. Your tolerance may vary, but even in these situations, it never hindered my experience. Handheld, the frame rate holds up a little better. I've noticed some dips, particularly in Act 2 as well, but they are less apparent. This is likely due to the Switch 2's built-in variable refresh rate display, something that my TV lacks. This footage was shot at 60 frames a second, so you should see those dips here. So far, most of these limitations haven't affected my gameplay in any major way. At least that's what I thought until I got to this sniper section as Leon. I don't need to tell you how rough this looks aiming down scope, but it also makes it difficult to aim when it's hard to even make out some of these zombies. Maybe this is why Leon kept missing in that direct. Fortunately, this is the only section where you're required to snipe enemies from far away. In later sections, it's up to you if you want to snipe, and most combat arenas aren't that big. I've also found the Nintendo Switch 2's Joy-Con analog sticks to be a bit imprecise. In a game like Resident Evil where every bullet counts, lining up headshots doesn't feel as smooth as I'd like. There are no gyro controls either, but there are a couple aim assist options in the settings. I'm too stubborn to change those, but you may find them useful. Fortunately, the Switch 2 Pro controller feels much better, so I'd recommend using that or something similar during docked play. Is Resident Evil 9 Requiem on the Switch 2 worth your time? Well, I'd say Resident Evil Requiem is absolutely worth your time, and if the Switch 2 is your only avenue to play this game, then you won't be missing out on much. However, modern Resident Evil games revel in all the disturbing details, and the Switch 2 version is somewhat lacking in that department. When I inevitably replay this game, I'll be playing it on my PC.